Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Golden 20s podcast. My name is Sadie, and I'm joined by my co-host, Tegan.
Hi.
And the band is back together this week. Thank you, Teg, for doing another solo episode last week. I feel like a few weeks ago, we were talking about how my sister was moving, Tegan was moving, and we were, I don't know, I was stressing about the podcast. Tegan's like, I got it, despite her moving as well. But all this being said, we are back, and in the blink of an eye, it is the end of summer, which is so depressing. I feel people are probably like, don't tell me that. We still have a few weeks left of summer officially. But that being said, in the spirit of people being back to school and summer break coming to a close, we wanted to do a summer reflection episode for you guys today. Just chatting through what we've been up to the past few, I guess, weeks, months at this point, and then just also what we are looking forward to in the upcoming fall season, that sort of thing. So a chatty little personal episode today, but before we jump into it, let's do a connection card.
Great. And I think we are still in the pink category, at least for another month. So let's see. The one I had last week was like very intense. So let's see what this week's card is. How can we amplify minority voices in our community?
Wow.
That is an interesting question.
Yeah.
I feel like the first thing that springs to mind for me is to first take the time to educate myself so that I know what I'm actually amplifying and that sort of thing, and what's important to amplify. And then from that point, as a white person, using my platform to continue to share the message.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. First thing that came to mind for me is to listen. And I feel like I'm doing a people leadership course at work right now. And the whole concept of listening is the key to everything, where it's managing different types of people and making people feel heard and supported and understood. The first step is always listening to them, listening to their experience, validating their experience. Just because you personally can't relate to it doesn't mean that they're wrong or they're incorrect. So I think that's the first thing that came to mind to me. I could apply it to minority communities as well. It's just, taking time to listen. And then to your point, Tag, I think another really key part to this is doing your research, but reading from multiple news sources and trying not to bias your research. So that's why I like to listen to people's experiences, since I feel like that is maybe biased, but their bias might show, but it just, I don't know, gives you a whole other resource to learn through. But I think, I don't know, I'm losing my train of thought here, but that's mine for me. Listen.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah
And I do feel like, I don't want to say an easy way, but an easy way to support minorities is to speak with your money and buy products directly from people who are making them, and support minority artists, and all that good stuff that I feel is step 101 of activism, is figuring out how you spend your money, doing your research that way, and then spending according to your values and supporting values-led brands, or brands led by minorities and that sort of thing.
Yeah, money talks, that is for sure.
Yeah. Damn, what a question to start with.
Yeah.
For us to answer with no research.
Yeah. I'll have to go back to your episode last week and listen, because now I'm intrigued what your connection card was.
I'm scared for when we there's still one more category of these cards that's even deeper. So shit's gonna get real. Every week we're gonna be crying, and then we'll be okay, so here's how to dress fashionable for spring. And, it'll be fun.
We love it. We are well-rounded girlies on our Golden 20s podcast. So it's great. Anyway,
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you transition from that?
Well, yeah, I'm who's gonna speak? Okay, so I think let's start jumping into our summer reflection. I know, Tag, the rose, thorn, bud,
my fave
structure. Yeah, you were the first person to introduce me to that little miss camp counselor over there.
Hmm.
And I feel like it's, yeah, a great way to reflect on summer. So do you want to walk us through, tag, what your rose, thorn, and bud were? And for people who aren't
Yes.
familiar with rose, thorn, and bud, a rose is like your highlight of whatever we're reflecting on. So all of summer, the thorn being like either something you struggled with or like a low light, if you will. And then a bud is something that is just starting to take shape and you're looking forward to it kind of like blossoming. Why am I struggling to speak? Tegan and I have been like rambling to each other for the past like 20 minutes and I could talk totally fine. Then we start recording and I'm tripping over my words. But in any case, a bud is, yeah, something that's going like getting started now and is going to blossom into a rose in the coming weeks, months, season, and so on.
Perfect. Yeah, I guess I can kick us off with my roses of the summer. First one being buying a house, because that's been
Ooh.
something we've been like working towards for like maybe 4 or 5 years. So the fact that it's like 5 years of work culminating in that is obviously very exciting. Still doesn't quite feel real. So that was definitely a highlight. Another rose from the summer is so many of my friends got married, which I actually am a person who quite likes weddings. I love like music and dancing. So, and I love an excuse to get dressed up. Like the day of a wedding, I'm like, I am waking up and we are getting ready. And that is like the full day's schedule because I just like love making it like a whole moment. So that was really exciting. I think we had like 4 weddings this year. So we got to see loads of friends get married. And then it's also really fun when you're at like a table with a big group of friends. So that was nice. I traveled to Halifax for the first time, which was also really nice. So that was for one of the weddings. Saw lots of live music, read lots of books, and spent some time up at the cottage, which is always lovely.
I love that so much. Do you want
Yeah.
me to share my roses or do you want to go into your thorns?
I was gonna say you can share your roses, but then I feel like it'll get really negative if we're both just sharing thorns. So maybe I'll just keep going and then we'll
Okay,
get to the
sounds
buds
good.
and it'll be positive and you'll pick it back up with the roses. So yeah, my thorns, the summer, it went by super, super fast, which is kind of a thorn. I got sick right at the beginning. I was actually really sick on my birthday, which I had to like call into work. That's how sick I was. And then they were all like, "Oh, must have been a fun birthday." And I was like, "No, I'm actually sick." So that was annoying.
Yeah.
And I was just like, if this is how the summer's starting with me like super, super sick. And so like for my birthday dinner, it was already kind of starting and just so that was unfortunate. Moving at the end of the summer meant that things were very chaotic. I spent basically the entire summer with half of my house packed up, and it just felt like everything was temporary. And with like traveling so much and moving, a lot of my like routines went out the window, like my skincare. I was using just like a travel toiletry bag for the past month and a half. So it's like I had very minimal skincare. I wasn't doing workouts. Half the time we're eating just like delivery or fast food because half of our kitchen stuff's packed up. Like it's just very chaotic. So it made the summer in general very chaotic. And then this last week, was like so bad. Like I threw out my shoulder because I don't know if it was just like stress or just like moving too many boxes or whatever it was. So just a lot of that like chaotic energy, not prioritizing taking care of myself, all for good reasons. And like it was a conscious choice I made because I was like, I'm moving, got to get shit done. So that's life. But definitely a thorn of the summer because it also makes summer go so fast when you're running around like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, but not a lot of time for self care was a big one. And so, as far as buds go, my one thing I'm really excited for is like settling into the new house, getting things situated, figuring out where I want everything to go, and really like decorating and making it nice. And then having more time for like the cozy self care. I feel like fall's the perfect time to kind of slow down and be like, we're going to have a cozy night at home with a cup of tea and do our skincare and keep it simple. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I love it. It's so
Yeah.
funny listening to you because I had the exact opposite experience, and like I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to fall for the opposite reasons as you. So let me get
Mm-hmm.
into what that means. So my roses, I feel like I've mentioned a lot of this in a previous episode, and I don't know what episode it was, if we were doing like a life catch up episode or what. But in any case, I started a new job back at the beginning of June slash end of May, and that really set the scene for my whole month of June and even into like early July. So I was back to the office. That was a bit of a lifestyle change, a very welcomed lifestyle change in my case, but just had to like reestablish my routine around that. And I don't know, settling into a new job is a lot anyway, just like learning all the people, learning your team, the
Mm-hmm.
processes, the roles, the company. Like it takes a long time to get settled into a new role. And I always forget that until I start something and I'm like, wow, this is extremely draining and exhausting. So, anyways, that was definitely a big theme of my summer, but it was a really positive thing because I was very desperate for a new job. This job that I landed is exactly what I was looking for, exactly what I wanted as the next step in my career. So overall, it was a very positive thing, even if it was very like mentally draining. Like I said, that kind of led into like reestablishing my routine. So I spent like the month of June just like really focused on my job, really focused on like, okay, just I don't know, it was very draining. So through July, I was like, okay, now that we understand what I'm doing in this role, now let's figure out my life around my job. And I feel like I actually really leaned into my self-care habits. I got back to the yoga studio, started running once, if not twice a week, and really like made my routine around the 9 to 5, like rock solid. So that was definitely a rose. And part of that, or I guess what that led into eventually, was really leaning into living a soft life. And I laugh because the whole like concept of brat summer was so
Mm-hmm.
big this year. And everyone's just like, yeah, like, I don't know. How I interpreted brat summer was very like chaotic and very like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just like doing everything, anything, not thinking about overthinking it. Like you're just living life. Where I had
Yeah.
the exact opposite, where it was like everything I was doing was so like intentional and mindful and soft and slow. Like I was reading on my balcony every single night, watching the sunset. I was watering my flowers. I was making homemade meals so I didn't have to buy my lunch out. Like I had the opposite of a brat summer, but I really loved it. And we'll talk about how it kind of turned into a thorn a little bit near the end of summer, but I feel like for me, I just really needed that at the time of like starting my new job. And I also feel like every summer goes so fast. I blink, it's over. I don't even know where the time went. Where this year I was really like leaning into all the small, simple things that make summer so magical and really embracing it. So that was definitely a rose. And then the last rose I had was I also saw my family a lot, which is great. Typically, I see my family a lot more in like the back half of a year where it's like around Christmas and Canadian
Mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving and things like that. I don't often see them through the summer too much. However, this year we just had so many big things happening in my family that brought us all together. That was really special. So we spent a week in Montreal in July, and I ended up being extremely sick then, which was a thorn for sure for my summer
Mm-hmm.
too. But that being said, we still like spent a whole week together as a family. My grandparents even came to that trip. Then we moved my sister at the end of August, spent again another solid like 5 days moving my sister. Like it was just a lot of family time, which was very special. So yeah, that was my other rose. I think how some of this transitioned into thorns, I think I'll start with like the thorniest thorn first. And that was, I think it was also so special to spend so much time with my family because we've been dealing with a lot of like different health issues in my family. And again, it sucks that those are the types of things that maybe like bring us together, but it just makes that
Yeah.
family time even more special. But I feel like, again, I'm just gonna like breeze over this to not like rain on this whole parade, but I feel like I've been really struggling the past few weeks, to be honest, to be like, this is part of growing up. Like your parents, your grandparents getting older, and like some of the health challenges that come with that. Like, I don't know, I've just been really like this is my first time having to deal with that kind of stuff. And I'm very lucky where I have two older sisters and like we have a very close relationship. So I'm not dealing with any of this on my own, but it is still the first time I'm having to like navigate through some of this. And it is very challenging. And I feel like as great and as, you know, much as I loved having my family time through the summer, kind of there were like negative sides to, or I guess family was just like a overarching theme for my summer, and it was in good ways, but also in some bad ways with some of the stuff we've been dealing with. So that was definitely a thorn. And then the other part of the whole, like I was saying, how my slow living, soft life summer also had a bit of an adverse effect. And that's because every single time I deprioritize my social life, it's typically very conscious where I'm like, okay, I really need to focus on my new job, and then I need to focus on like my routine outside of my 9 to 5, like I was saying. But by doing that, I'm like actively choosing to not make plans with friends and to deprioritize my social life. And every single time I do that, my mental health suffers, where all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I don't have any friends. Oh my God. Like, I don't know. It's in the past few years, like I've started to feel like in times like that, starting to feel lonely. And I really hate that. And I know it's not true. Like I have so many friends. Again, I have a really great family. Like that's not the case, but it's just when I'm not making an active effort to make plans and when everyone else is so busy, especially through the summer, that always takes a toll on my mental health. So I did reach a point like end of August where I was like, okay, girl, we need to like bring back that social life now that the job is settled, the routine is settled. Let's work back in socializing so that I'm living a little bit more balanced. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've been ranting, but those are my thorn.
No, I think that makes sense. I feel like every time we do this, it's like we lean into one thing because it's like, this is what we need. Like, we're too busy, so we need to like lean into staying home and chilling. And then it's like all about balance, which is the hardest part because it's like you don't know that you've tipped the scale too far until you're like me burnt out and like my body's failing, or you being like, I just need to see people. Like,
yeah,
that it's so tough to figure out the like balance of it all.
100%. I think in terms of my bud, it's exactly what you're saying, Tag, where it's like finding that balance. But
Yeah.
I think I'm really looking forward to the back half of the year. Typically, September through December is my favorite time of the year. And that is because my birthday falls in that time, Scorpio season. And I really feel like that's the time I come most alive. But it also is just so special because, again, Canadian Thanksgiving is in October. My birthday's October. Then I celebrate Christmas. So it's just brings together my family a lot through the back half of the year, which I'm looking forward to. We also have like my sisters and I got my mom tickets to see the Mamma Mia musical over Thanksgiving weekend. And, you know, we just have like a few small things planned as a family that I'm really looking forward to, but also just reconnecting with and this is kind of getting into like what we're looking forward to in the fall, but reconnecting with my yearly intention of being the leading lady, because I don't know if we had like a deep dive episode or not, but I've been feeling very much like a supporting character in other people's stories the past few years. And I feel like this year I was like, no, this year I'm going to make sure I'm like prioritizing myself. But with all of this family stuff that's been going on lately, and then starting a new job where I'm now like managing a big team, I'm getting kind of sucked into like, okay, no, I'm just supporting other people again. So I think that's another key reminder, as much as you're just talking about balance, but it's also okay if you need to constantly work on your intentions and like actively work toward them, because I feel like that's also another common misconception is like we set a yearly intention or like we set a goal and we just stay focused on it. Like, no, that is very much not the case. And oftentimes it takes falling off in order to come back to it. And that's exactly what kind of my bud is okay, I fell off. I acknowledge that. How can we get back to what I had set out to do this year?
Totally. Yeah. I love that. Do you have any big birthday plans, main character birthday plans?
Not really. Not for this year. I've already told you guys about my 30th birthday. So it's funny because every time I start like heading into my birthday season, I get very reflective. So I've been reflecting a lot on like who I am now versus who I was last year. And I'm like, wow, I have so much growth. But now all of a sudden I'm just like, okay, this is what I want out of my next year. And like, out of my last year of my 20s, since I'm turning 29. And then I'm starting to plan my 30th birthday. But for this year's birthday, I want to go to a Maggie Rogers concert the night before my birthday. maybe
Mm-hmm.
grab a like dinner with you, one of my other friends, maybe go to the Holy Gambler show the night of my birthday. Like,
Oh yeah, I
like it's
forgot
just
about
like
that.
chill. Yeah, I don't have any crazy
Yeah.
plans, but I'm getting lots of plans for 29 and like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
after my birthday happens. But
Nice.
yeah,
Okay,
I
well,
want
I'll
to do like
mark
a
it in the
whole
calendar.
yeah, I want to do a whole birthday reflection episode. So you guys can
Yeah.
look forward to that if this is resonating with you at all.
Yeah, that could be fun. I also feel like because you were talking about how you've like come up with your work routine working from home, it could be good to do like another episode that's just about like working routines. Because the last time we did it, it was very like work from home focus. So
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, great.
Great. What about you, Tay?
Well,
What are you looking forward to this fall?
yeah, I've got a couple of things. One is just like enjoying the new house. There's like this trend going around on Instagram and TikTok that's like, what are you doing this weekend? It's like enjoying my mortgage. And I'm like, that's what I want my weekends to be, to just like really make it nice and cozy, especially for fall, and just have like cozy movie nights and cozy dinners and like that sort of thing. I think other things I'm excited for, the Toronto International Film Festival is something that I attend every single year. So I've already got loads of tickets for that. And I managed to get my husband and I party invites for one night. So we're going to go to a party. So that's exciting. I am also related through marriage to the drag queen Tay Bobo, and she's doing the Eras tour one night as she does like Taylor Swift drag. So I'm going to go to that, which I'm very excited for. I went to the last one she did, and it was so good. Like the vibes were just immaculate. She had come up with like an entire cocktail menu that was like a drink for each era. So as she entered each era, you could like order the drink and sip along. And she like handmade every single costume she wears in the film. And yeah, it was just like so good, so fun. All the girls and the gays were there and just like dancing and singing. So I'm very excited for that.
I
I
am
have some
too.
friends. Yeah,
I missed
Sadie's
it
gonna
the
come.
first time. Yeah, I missed it the first time. I was so upset. So I'm glad it's happening again with the new
Yeah.
era. So I get to see
Yeah.
the whole thing. Yeah, I'm pumped.
No, that'll be so fun. And yeah, this time, like last time, I just went with my sister-in-law, which was like really fun, like cute little sister-in-law activity. But this time I have like a whole big group, which I also feel like will be fun because we can
Yeah,
just be like all silly together.
yeah.
And yeah, that'll
We'll
be
have to
so
plan our
good.
outfits. I'm stressed on what to wear. But
Yeah. Last time I wore my sparkly blazer, and then multiple people were like, "You look amazing." So I might just rock that
ooh,
again. But then I'd be an
yeah,
outfit repeater.
that's fine. That's allowed.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, very
Good.
excited for
Good to
that.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, forget the rest
What
of
are
this
my outfit?
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, what should I wear? No.
Yeah. Well, everyone was in like lots of sparkles. It's like stuff you'd wear to the Eras tour,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep thinking. Yeah.
And then I have a friend who's hosting a Friendsgiving, so I'm very excited for that. We're doing Thanksgiving at our cottage this year, which is the first time I have ever done that. So very excited for that because I just feel like it'll be so autumnal up in Muskoka that time of year. And I really want to go to like a cranberry bog and just like lean into the fall vibes. And yeah, I was invited to another cottage weekend with one of my friends and Halloween in the new neighborhood. I love Halloween. So I'm very curious to see if we have any like trick-or-treaters. I'm not too sure. We're really close to a high school, so people
Mhm.
might be a little too old, but we'll see. I'll still decorate my porch and carve pumpkins and have candy. And then if no one comes, I will eat all the candy by myself.
What time do you turn the porch light off? That was a thing like in our
Hmm.
hometown where it was like turn it off by a certain time, otherwise you just get the older kids who are like up to no
Yeah.
good.
See, but I don't mind the older kids. I don't stay. It depends on how cold it is. Like
Yeah.
last year it got quite cold, so I feel like I turned off the porch light at like 8 and then I just went
Mm.
inside and watched movies, but it was only because it was cold.
Yeah.
And that It's so funny because I was out on my porch with my husband Tyrell and my brother Duncan, and before it started, they both talked a big game about like, oh, these kids get one candy each, and if they're bad, no candy, blah blah blah. Then these kids come up, and these boys are giving them like five candies each, and I was like, you can't do that, or we're gonna run out of candy. And they're like, but they're so cute. And I'm
This
like,
is
yeah, who cares?
classic
Like,
Tyrell and
yeah,
Duncan. Oh my God.
I know. And they were like, I feel bad though because they just keep looking at me. I was like, it's because they're like babies. I was like, eventually I told Duncan, like, just throw the candy in really hard in the bag and it'll feel like they got a lot of candy. And then he was like whipping candy in their bags. I was like, what is wrong with you two? So,
Oh my God.
yeah,
Yeah, that's porch light off
suckers.
behavior.
Yeah, I was like, you absolute suckers. See one cute kid. And they were like,
Oh my God.
oh, talking away. I was like, don't talk. You can say, like, what are you supposed to be? And give
Right.
them candy, send them on their way.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we will report back with more Halloween episodes. And then, yeah, Jag, you'll have to tell us how Halloween in the new
Hmm.
neighborhood is. That is so cute. I wish we got trick-or-treaters here, but
It is
ooh,
nice.
yeah, I'm feeling so cozy just thinking about like peak fall. Yeah,
Hmm.
I love it.
What about you?
I feel like I already talked about
Oh,
most of
yeah.
my things, but a few things I didn't mention. Running a 5K, I think that's been my
Woohoo.
entire personality since January, and it's only 5K. But at this point, I can run a very steady 3K, which is great. And then I
Nice.
can run 4K. So I'm like, okay, on race day, what's another
Oh, yeah.
kilometer? Like, I can easily run 5K. Maybe
Yeah.
not easily, but I can do it.
You'll
So
be pumped.
yeah, that's the weekend before my birthday. So again, I'm like, okay, I now have a goal to run a 10K next year. So again, I'm like, yeah, I'll run a 10K by the time I'm 30. So,
Yeah.
anyways, that is definitely something I'm looking forward to. I already mentioned the Maggie Rogers concert, but another concert I'm so excited about is Wild Rivers. I set the yearly goal to go to Osheaga this year, which is a music festival in Montreal. It didn't happen, but one of the reasons I wanted to go to Osheaga was because Wild Rivers was going, as well as Noah Kahan, Hosier, Green Day, SZA. Like the lineup was unreal. That's why I wanted to
Mm.
go. But one of my favorite bands, Wild Rivers, was playing. And I was so sad that I didn't get to see them since I didn't end up going to the festival. But I just saw that they're coming to Toronto in December. And I'm
Oh,
like, oh
nice.
my God, I'm going. So I'm pumped about that. And I think that's pretty much the highlights. I mentioned the Mamma Mia musical. Yeah, I feel like those are the main things I'm looking forward to, but maybe I'll transition to fall goals, which is kind of along the same lines, but something that I've been very inspired by is all my friends and family that have been moving lately. It has really inspired me to like redecorate my apartment since moving is not like logical for me to do.
Yeah.
So I've started on this just like the past 2 weeks where I got a new TV stand. I started like
Mm.
redecorating my kitchen a little bit where I have just like new decor. So when we're talking redecorating, it's not home improvement projects of any kind, like not even really
Right.
DIY projects. It's literally just like changing the decor. And I'm having so much fun with it. I'm kind of in this bad headspace where I'm like, money doesn't exist. Like, you are just gonna do this, just order it. It's fine. It'll all work out. But I am loving it so much. I made like the smallest tweaks to my kitchen, and I'm like, oh my God, I love it in here. It feels like a totally different space. So I just want to apply that energy to the rest of my apartment. And I also am applying that energy to my personal wardrobe and style. And again, this is like more so in the spirit of like ending my 20s, but I'm like I've had the same images pinned to like my Pinterest board when it comes to wardrobe inspo or home design inspo. And I'm like, damn it, let's just live that. Like, let's just be that girl, you know? So that is very much what I'm focused on this fall. It's just being that girl, bringing my Pinterest vision board to life. And then, like I already mentioned, reconnecting with being the leading lady, which I feel like also goes hand in hand with living my best life, being the girl I always wanted to be via Pinterest and so on.
Love it. Yeah, I think that sounds perfect. I think as far as my goals went, the first one is I, similar to you, want to do like another I think just like vision board session or something. I've had the same phone background where something I did this year for the first time was turn my vision board into phone background. So I did one in January and then one, I think in April. And I've achieved a lot of the stuff that's on the like April one that I'm currently using. So I'm like, time to make a new one and come up with like what I want the rest of the year to look like. So TBD what that will look like. But the things that sort of came to mind is one, to unpack my house. I have like all of the major stuff unpacked, but you just have a lot of stuff when you move. So it's like all get rid of all the boxes and come up with homes for like, where's my Christmas decor going to live, and like all my hosting supplies and all that sort of stuff. I also want to finish a couple pressing home improvement things. I was telling Sadie that there's just like a lot of little things where every single room, it's like, fix this light switch, adjust this door frame, you know, like little stuff. And it's things that like you put on a big list and tackle a couple every weekend. So I want to get through a couple of those and then get back into my self-care rituals, things like yoga, skincare, my cold plunging, and get my eating back on track. So like less deliveries, less fast food. We were actually pretty good through the summer because we were trying to save money. It's just been the last like couple of weeks because we didn't have any kitchen supplies. So it's like, okay, now that that's all unpacked, let's like start eating actual food. So which will like help my everything else, like my skin and everything. So yeah, it's really just like unpacking, getting settled, getting a routine, figuring out what life looks like in this new house.
I love it. So you embrace soft life fall, and I'll embrace brat girl fall.
Brat. Yeah.
We'll just switch from summer.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Tegan's a summer baby, I'm a fall baby. So it's like it very much was like Gemini season, balls to the wall energy for you. And now I'm like, hey, let's embrace this for Scorpio season.
Yeah. Gemini summer is very much brat aligned
energy,
I think. Yeah.
100%.
Which I didn't even go. The most brat thing I did was I listened to Julia Fox's audiobook, which is like barely even brat adjacent. But
I think the brattiest part of my summer was our bachelorette weekend in Toronto, which was for
brat.
Yeah, the wedding Tegan went to Halifax for. That bride had her bachelorette in Toronto, and that was so much fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it was even more fun because a lot of the girls weren't from Toronto, so Tegan and I kind of like help plan parts of the like what to do, all the activities. We got people around. Like, I don't know, it was just very cute and wholesome. But yeah, that was definitely my most brat moment of the whole summer.
Yeah. No, that was fun. And one of the girls who was on the trip actually said to me after, which I was like, this is the ultimate compliment. She was like, it actually made me like Toronto, where every other time I've come, I've hated it. She was like, I just spend the whole time sitting in traffic and you're just trying to figure out how to get from point A to point B. She's like, and we never had to do that. I was like, yeah, it's because it was planned to perfection.
Yes, by locals. We love that.
Yeah, great. Well, I think that's where we're going to leave it for this week. If you had a particularly crazy or chill summer, please let us know. I know on Spotify you can like leave us comments now or give us a shout on social media. We love when we get like DMs from you. Always super nice. So tell us a little bit about your summer and if it was bratty or demure, because apparently that's the scale. And yeah, while you're leaving us a comment on Spotify, make sure you're following us so that you see when new episodes drop. We put out a new episode every single Tuesday. And between that, you can follow us on social media. We are at our Golden 20s on almost all of the platforms. And we're also on Patreon, which is the best way to show your support for as little as $2 a month. And we drop all of the episodes there a day early and completely ad-free. I think that's everything. So thanks for listening.
See you next Tuesday.
Bye.